Thank you, Ellie. Ellie's presidency has been just amazing, and you saw with her Torah reading, she's instituted a new policy that all board members are going to be learning Torah chanting for High Holy Days. And she's beginning by her example. Oh, that's not true? Oh, well, one could only hope. But if the board does change their mind and they want some coaching, I'd be happy to do that. I also just want to add my own little ask to Ellie's ask. We would love a new sound system in this space, and maybe some of you can attest to the fact that we need that. We do have an estimate. They say about $10,000, but of course you want to add 50% to that. So if anybody's feeling that that is their mitzvah, is so that next year we have the sound system that will really augment our services. That's wish number one. Wish number two is I would love to create our own Machzor. I think we've outgrown these books. The print is really small. How did it get to be so much smaller this year? I guess when they sit there in the classroom, whatever it is, they just shrivel, they contract. And there's not enough transliteration, which I think many of you can also appreciate. So I actually, because we did those online services a number of years ago, I actually have the digital files for a good percentage of what we're doing. And I don't think it would take that much to finish that job and then bind them. And I did an estimate for this year. And again, it was just a little, we ran out of time and the funds aren't quite there yet. So anyway, if that's your mitzvah, come see me. And if we can accomplish those two things by next year, High Holy Days, those are my wishes come true. All right. Yeah, well, a few words from the rabbi. Today's Torah reading begins with the book of Isaac, birth of Isaac. In the backstory to today's reading, Abraham and Sarah are visited by three angels, three messengers, who inform them by this time the following year, Rosh Hashanah, 99-year-old Sarah would give birth to a baby. And their response is typical of how any of us would respond in that situation. They laugh. But Sarah does conceive, and she does give birth, and when that baby is born, the baby is named Yitzchak, the one who laughs. That this reading was chosen by our sages for the first day of Rosh Hashanah is not a mystery. It is the new year, after all, and a narrative about the birth of a child is an apt metaphor for beginning a new year, a new endeavor, a new cycle. But there's something that struck me this year for the first time. While the first of today's three Torah readings is celebratory, focusing on the birth, the second two readings, the majority of the portion actually, bring us into difficult, serious matters. They shift away quickly from the joy surrounding Yitzchak and instead focus on Hagar and her son. Now, Yishmael is interestingly not mentioned in the story, just noting that. So who is Hagar? She's the handmaid of Sarah. Now, also parenthetically, I will mention that last week I saw the live stream of the San Francisco Opera's production of The Handmaid's Tale. Much to think about there, and I'll save that for another day. But her name, Hagar, the Hebrew root gimel resh, means the stranger or the other, the one who is not us. A Jungian reading would call this character the shadow. For as much as our story sets us up to identify with Yitzchak, who will be the father of Yaakov, and that's the patriarch to the children of Israel. Hagar, along with her son, form a complementary piece, part of the whole. Now, again, parenthetically, this is amplified by the equivalence in the gematria of Yitzchak and Hagar, which both add up to the same number, 208, and which, for all of you math nerds, is an exact multiple of 26. 26 is the gematria of Yud-He-Vav-He, the name of God. So there is something in that the combination of Yitzchak and Hagar, they need each other, is to form that whole. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is an unconscious aspect of the personality that the conscious ego does not identify with or accept as part of itself. It includes repressed ideas, instincts, weaknesses, desires, and shortcomings, things that we reject or are ashamed of, aspects of ourself that do not align with our ego ideal or the person we want to be. Becoming aware of and integrating that shadow is an important part of Jungian therapy and personal growth. And this process involves acknowledging the existence of the shadow, self-reflection to understand its nature through practices like meditation and journaling, negotiating between accepting useful aspects of the shadow and rejecting harmful ones. Sounds a lot like the process that we Jews are called to do during these high holy days, as we do a self-accounting to acknowledge the ways that we have missed the mark and seek forgiveness from those that we may have harmed. There is something essential in the identification of Hagar as other, as psychic or emotional material that we would rather push away than acknowledge or face. And yet these holy days emphatically insist that we pay attention to them. And what was Ishmael's crime? What led to their expulsion? Were you paying attention? It's very quiet in here for those on Zoom. I hear you on Zoom shouting out because you know, but they're a little quiet here. Mitzachek. He was laughing. You hear that? Mitzachek, Yitzchak. It's that same root. The classic rabbinic interpretation suggests that there was mockery in that laughter. It's a fine line. Are you laughing with me? Or are you laughing at me? And when we mock someone, are we respecting them? Are we treating them with kindness and appreciation? To mock someone is not to see the sweetness, the goodness in another. All right, I have one more phrase that adds up to this year. Ki v'yom ach lechem mimenu v'nifkachu einechem. This is from Genesis chapter 3, verse 5. On the day that you eat of it, your eyes will be open. On the day that you eat of it, your eyes will be open. The phrase is from the story of Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, and the Garden of Eden. It is spoken by the serpent, the trickster, like Hermes in Greek mythology or coyote in many Native American cultures. The trickster is the one who moves between the worlds of the gods and the humans. And the serpent speaks to Chava and suggests that contrary to what God, Elohim, has commanded Adam, she wasn't there actually, let's also be clear. God spoke to Adam and told him not to eat of that tree, but Chava wasn't even created yet, right? All right, another day. We have a lot to do. All right. So Adam was commanded not to eat of the fruit from the tree of knowledge. And the serpent says that this eating from the fruit will not bring death, actually, but will open their eyes, making them like God, Elohim, in knowing good and evil. Tov, good, goodness, Virga, evil. Eve picks the fruit, the apple, and tastes it. The apple. Was it really an apple? We don't know. But our tradition has assigned the apple to this very holy task. So Eve picks the fruit and tastes it and then gives it to Adam, who also eats. And as the serpent predicted, they do not, in fact, die. Their eyes are opened. And they realize that they are naked, and they feel shame. And they now understand that there is goodness, tov, and evil, ra, in the world. Right and wrong, blessing and curse. And the rest of the Torah will be a journey to next week's Torah reading on Yom Kippur that says, Re'eh natati lefanecha hayom ha-hachayim ve'et hatov ve'et mavet ve'et hara uvacharta b'chayim. See, I have set before you this day life and goodness, death and evil. Choose life. On Rosh Hashanah, we hear Hayom Harat Olam. At this moment, this day, Hayom, now, is the universe conceived. Rosh Hashanah celebrates the birthday of creation, but this is not all that this holiday is about. We also eat the apple, reenacting the scene in the garden, opening our eyes to the realities of life and death, to the parts of ourselves our egos have an interest in banishing and hiding in the shadows. Hagar, the Egyptian, is sent away from the household, the family, into the midbar, into the wilderness. Her child, her creativity, is starved and is thirsty. But God hears the cry of the boy like a shofar blast in the desert and opens Hagar's eyes, and she sees the well, and the boy is revived. Later in the Torah, the situation will be inverted. The children of Israel will be strangers in the land of Egypt and then expelled into the desert, into the wilderness, and they will be hungry and they will be thirsty, and God will hear their cries. Rosh Hashanah is about awakening from the complacency that we naturally slide into, awakening into Hayom, this day, this moment, this breath, which is really every day, every moment, because we really don't know what the next moment will bring. On Rosh Hashanah, it is written, and on Yom Kippur, the course is set, who will live and who will die. Our choices matter. Our engagement matters. Our love and compassion for each other. And as we learn from Hagar's story, which is amplified throughout the Torah, our compassion even for strangers matters. In a few minutes, we'll hear the sound of the shofar, and then we will eat some apples, and we will dip them in honey. What are we sugarcoating? What deeper reality, what deeper aspect of life are we ready to confront and wrestle with this year? Prepare to be awakened. As E. Cummings wrote, and now the eyes of my eyes are opened. Shana Tova. Blessings to you all.